With your host, Knotty Karate.
Scruffy-looking nerf herder.
And a rotating roundtable of awesomeness.
Go switch off.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes InDepth.com podcast.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Welcome, everybody, to a special edition of the August SwGoH In-Depth podcast. We've got a couple things lined up for you tonight, and we have a special guest. We haven't had a guest on for a while. We have SyracuseJedis, a.k.a. SJ. That's what Nukin calls him because he can't pronounce Syracuse. But he is the guild leader.
Hey, we got to tell everyone why he's nicknamed SJ. He has an attractive woman in his profile picture. And yes, also I can't pronounce New York City's.
Yeah, you kept calling him Sarah. So he's going to be SJ, but his real name is SyracuseJedis. That's his handle. He is the guild leader of the OG Wolfpack. He's got some territory war battles, literally war battles to tell us. We'll get into that a little bit later. Also, as always, as you would expect, we are joined by Avinash and Nukin. And let's start with, what are you guys drinking tonight? Avi, what do you have?
I've got a glass of blush wine that's probably about 15 ounces.
Ooh, very nice. Nukin, what are you drinking?
I pounded some coffee prior to this and drinking some whiskey tonight.
Ooh, very nice. Hitting it hard. Hey, SJ, what are you rocking right now?
I'm the lame one with a white Monster energy drink.
Well, according to you, not as lame as me, because I'm drinking grapefruit juice like an old man.
Hey, Grandpa.
How y'all kids doing?
Anyway, let's go over some of our recent news. So we had a client update today as of the time of this recording, which is Wednesday the 22nd. Client update happened, maybe 4 or 5 hours ago? So we have a lot to get into there. Also, we had an Ask Me Anything event on the 16th on our server that we record on here, which was actually quite fun, where a bunch of people just threw out a bunch of random questions. It lasted about 2 hours. Avi, what did you think of that? Pretty good time.
I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. We had quite a lot more people show up than I kind of expected for our first time around. We had some nice questions, like what goes into the editing of the podcast, which we had our very own Zeppers speak up for a few minutes. I think he was a little embarrassed about it.
Shout out to Zepp.
Yeah. One of the other questions was like a favorite or earliest Star Wars memory, and that was a lot of fun to try to remember little things back in the days, especially at my age. And also, like one of the questions was a toon or team that you feel was underrated, which that took a little bit of thinking to come up with, actually. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's fun being asked questions like on the spot when we don't prepare for it.
Yeah, we had
swag.
We had a giveaway.
Yeah.
So because I'm partnered with Blue Designs, they gave me this cool Overwatch and Midnight Blue. Should add that. Midnight Blue Yeti. So that's a really nice microphone. And Overwatch was a cool little Blizzard. I think it's like a shooting game or something. I haven't really played it.
First-person shooter, I think it was. Yeah.
But it's supposed to be pretty fun. And the lucky winner was Jim Servac, who actually was a guild member of mine back all the way from the Cantina Barflies, which was my very first guild that I created when I started playing the game. And so, yeah.
That was 2016, right?
Yeah. That's how long I've known Jim for. So he was the lucky winner of that bundle. And I think it was a success. We had like 40 to 50 people in the chat at all times. And it was like an hour and a half long or something. So
right. Yeah, it was.
We want to see more of you next one. We're going to do another one.
Yeah. Our plan is to do this, maybe once a month?
We
can manage it?
Maybe once every few months.
Every few months.
Once every couple months or something.
Okay, once a quarter. Don't expect more than that. If we're feeling feisty, it might be more frequent.
Maybe we'll do it once a month if that's what people want. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, let's go on to other news. So let's talk about this client update. We have a bunch of new farming locations. Avi, do you want to break that down for us?
Yes, we have quite a few farmable toons now, which we've been looking forward to for quite a while. One of them is the Range Trooper. Yay, my trooper boy. Another one's Young Lando, Lando's Millennium Falcon, Emphas Nest, L337 are the new farmable toons now. And although 3 of them are now on the fleet hard nodes, which that's going to be kind of interesting, especially Emphas Nest, which is on the super hard one, which is 5D. A lot of people don't have that 3-starred yet, but
they did put Lando's Falcon on the same node as Lando, so that's nice.
That's nice. That makes it kind of like a double dip.
Yeah, doubles it up like Unmasked Kylo.
Right.
It's also a very easy one to beat. I'm curious, does anyone here not have the Emphas Nest, which is 5D? Do you not have that 3-starred yet?
I don't have it 3-starred. Matter of fact, I only have one account that has that battle open in the first place, but I don't have to worry about it because because all of my accounts have a 7-star Emphas Nest anyway.
I've struggled.
The answer for it.
Yeah, I've struggled to. People ask me because I 3-starred all of them, and I literally can't remember how I did it. I don't know. All I know is you have to have your ships maxed. All the Omegas need to be on them. The cap ship needs all the prestige. Other than that, I really can't remember how I beat these things, but I'm happy that... I bought Emphas Nest, so I don't need to farm her, but whatever. I think
the hardest nodes were probably the very last 2, and I think most people had the most difficulty on the second to last node, so thankfully they didn't put Nest there.
Yeah, that's Mace Windu fleet that gets 2 turns before you do.
I think, is that the Nest node? The one that I'm talking about that everyone has difficulty with is where there's a billion Imperial TIE fighters.
Oh, yeah. No, that's not this one. That's the second.
That was 5E, I think it was.
Yeah, that's the hardest one I think most people have difficulty with. Right. So it's nice that Nest was not put on that because that would have been evil.
Yeah. So I'm super happy about these particular characters being farmable. Mostly Range Trooper is the one that I'm excited about because I was not willing to spend on him, went over budget getting Nest. What was that, 2 months ago or something like that? And I'm just, I gave him some gear, but now that he's farmable, that's pretty great. However, I have heard a lot of people complaining that he's on a dark side hard node because there's almost no one left in light side unless you're farming that Tusken or River.
Yeah.
So some people are complaining about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily for me, Range Trooper on one of my accounts is 7 stars, so I don't have to worry about that. But I do have them at 4 or 5 stars on the other one, and I need to farm on that. And I'm not looking forward to that because that's probably going to take me at least a couple of years of the way it's going.
Yeah.
Years?
I'm just exaggerating.
Single hard nodes are the worst.
That's what it feels like. I remember the first order Stormtrooper took me almost a year. Seriously, first order Stormtrooper.
That was a long.
That was awful. Yeah.
Sometimes I think people are crazy when they just start playing this game now, given the margin of time and resources to acquire, even if they're spending on their account. It's just the game is so mature at this point that it must be a completely different experience growing up in it. There's so many characters to farm if you haven't already done that. So
right. Anyway. And I'm finding that a lot of the whales are not buying as much as they did. One of the guilds that I'm in, I was amazed that we couldn't fill some of the platoons, and they're whales. And I thought for sure they would buy everything, and they don't.
There's just too many.
There's
marquees.
too many.
Yeah.
Right. Not just too many marquees, but the fact that some of the tunes are a little bit lackluster compared to some of the others, and people don't want to get them because all they're good for is platooning.
And they're so serviceable at lower stars that it really doesn't justify it unless you want to do it for the raid. It's the only reason. You can use them in TW or wherever else at a lower star.
That too. Yeah.
Very, very good point. Enfys Nest is probably one of the best examples of that, along with
And
Ranch Trooper,
Bastila.
perhaps. Bastila, too.
Actually, on one of my accounts, on one of my alt accounts, I have Bastila at 2 stars. And she's actually on my arena team and kicks butt.
Because you forgot to do the marquee event?
Not me. It was one of my alt accounts, higher alt accounts that somebody else had at the time. And so I ended up getting
the Blame
it back.
Nukin account?
Yes, that was the Blame Nukin account that missed that event, but I went ahead and got the $9.99 package just to be able to get the 2-star on that. So
and 2-star Bastila is still viable.
2-star Bastila, 11 gear is still viable as a lead in arena.
That's super impressive.
It is very impressive. There's actually in my shard, which is extremely mature, there's some people that don't have Treya yet, and they just kind of gave up getting into like top 20, sometimes top 30, much less be a teammate in the top 10 that can help, bump people around and rotate payouts correctly. And they just got Bastila, put 1 Zeta on like Yoda with it. So they don't even have Hermit Yoda Zeta or Ezra. They can still climb as long as it's an EP lead. It's super hard counter to EP lead. So even if it's only a 3-star Bastila. So I think that's kind of cool. So Avi, to close this one out, there's a new tag for ships, cargo ships.
Yeah, cargo ships.
So this is related to this new marquee event, right? You got to let the cargo ship survive or something like that?
It's not a marquee event. It's just a normal type of event.
Oh, just a new, basically, a new faction that they're just tagging a bunch of ships at random, I swear.
It starts in a few hours, actually.
It does.
Yeah, and I guess they're going to evaluate.
Cargo. That's the name of the
from
event.
what I understand, they're going to possibly evaluate ships in the future.
So the cargo ships
changing their tags as well
are both Falcons, both Phoenix ships, and Boba Fett ship. So I guess the point of the event is you have to use these and they must survive or something like that to win. That's my understanding.
You definitely need a surviving ship to probably get the rewards.
We'll find out.
It seems like there's only 5. Yeah, so far.
Wait, you mean I can't lose the battle and still get the rewards? What the hell?
Oh, man, bummer. Yeah, so there's definitely only 5 ships. I'm assuming that you need at least a few to do the early events, the earlier tiers, I should say. But probably the last tier, you probably need some stars on all these bad boys. And so there's only 5, so got to start grinding. But the rewards seem nice. I think the last tier is going to give out ship Omegas, which are probably the rarest ship material resource there is in the game.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. Which, if they do offer that, by the way, that ship pack, we talked about this on a previous podcast, but if they do offer that ship pack, which is like 2 days worth of arena crystals to purchase, it's like 1,700 or something to get 25 reinforcement mats. That's such a good deal. If that ever comes back, I'm buying it every day for sure.
Oh, and one other thing, CG Capgasp. So he is the event designer lead, I believe. He stated on the forums, this is going to be a little tip for everyone. Just like the credit heist, training droid smuggling, the contraband cargo event is going to be similar to that type of event because the sort of plays where you can go in are shared across all tiers. So for everyone, actually, they'll probably have already done the event by now, but when they're listening, but for the next time around, make sure that you do the most difficult tier that you can try and beat first. So
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So we ready to jump off the deep end here and just like let's
go down the rabbit hole.
Okay, so Syracuse, I wanted to pick your brain on this one because we have all these new farmable characters. We have a new bounty hunter, and you had said something earlier that was very intriguing. It was a post on Reddit. Do you want to go into detail on that, what it might mean?
Well, I think there's just a lot of speculation on what's going to happen with all these new toons and what's going to come. Marquee after marquee after marquee, and Carrie posted on Reddit earlier today that talked about, this was kind of their model through the beginning part of their fiscal year to introduce all these marquees. And it does kind of translate, and she hints at that it will then come with some more fun events that people may like in terms of legendary or hero journey events. And so now the speculation becomes, who, what, and when these events come, and, what are you going to need to have them? And I think there's a lot of speculation over the last couple of months that Revan was coming, that now Jango Fett's coming, and then there's other names out there too that people are going to throw around and hope for or wish for. And, I think,
what are you hoping for?
Something's coming.
Who would you like to see? Because there was also something interesting about that post you were saying, where it was something about the cadence, like marquee, legendary, something like that. Am I right there?
Yeah. Well, I think we've already had marquee. So I think everyone's looking forward for legendary. But yeah, I'm looking for Jango Fett. I think the bounty hunters are close to having 2 full teams. A little bit of reworks coming around with all of them, and I think Jango coming and filling out, possibly having 2 bounty hunter teams and or fitting into a scoundrel team is really exciting.
Or a clone team too.
I was going to say
all
a clone team,
have his DNA, right?
Would Jango have a clone tag?
Well, all clones are cloned from him, so I would imagine.
But he's not.
All clones are Jango. Jango isn't all clones.
True.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be nice if he had synergy with him.
Oh yes, it's not vice versa. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it started. Well, that's the story. Anyway, I think it would be cool if clones had more use other than a trash team in territory wars or just killing time in phase 2 of the Hat Raid.
They definitely need a rework.
Well, I think one way or another, I think it's not going to be one toon. I think we're going to get 2 or 3 of these events over the next 3 to 6 months, one way or another, to get a Jango, a Revan. I mean, some of these new toons that are coming out, it really just looks like, they're going to spin this into a different way, in a different direction, and make us all need to chase these toons.
Yep. What are you doing to prepare right now for what
panic farming everything, thinking it's coming by the end of the month?
Okay.
You're playing Pokemon.
Yep.
I know. I've been trying to talk some of the whales into buying some stuff for me. It's like, look, I'm really nice to you. Can you buy me some stuff too? They're like, hell no.
Okay, so let's break down these new toons that we do have that are coming out a couple hours from now at the time of this recording. Nukin, tell us a little bit about Aurra Sing. We watched your video on it. We should probably link that actually on the podcast, because it's a really, really great video breaking down the theory crafting of her. But tell us a bit about that.
So Aurra Sing is a bounty hunter from the Clone Wars. If you haven't seen that yet, you should go watch it, because it's probably even better than some of the movies. And she's a badass in the Sith Raid. Oh my God. Well, actually, I got to censor myself a little bit, but she hits really, really hard against toppled targets. And when you hit standalone, she's going to do 500,000 to 1 million damage, depending on how you modded her and the rest of the team in one special attack. And it is a little bit arousing.
Yeah, that's like the whole team's damage
when you do it for the first time. I mean, you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll get that little dopamine squirt in the brain, and you'll be like, "Wow, that was a lot of damage." Oh, here's one thing for everyone that's free to play, and you're not going to have her right away. It's similar to like Darth Vader doing a huge calling blade. So it's similar to that. So it's pretty good. Aurra Sing does a lot of damage against toppled targets. So definitely throw her in phase 3 against Darth Traya, which is cool because we don't have a lot of phase 3 teams that do a lot of damage. We recently have been getting more teams that can do stuff outside of Darth Sion phase 2, which is nice. We got Yodalicious and the Jedi, and then the bounty hunters with Embo, which we'll talk about later in the podcast, are good in phase 1. And now we have a phase 3 team that can do a lot of damage. So Aurra Sing is good in that regard. And basically that's kind of where she is going to be. That's really where you're going to want to put her. You're not really going to want to put her anywhere else, because you can't topple any of the other ancient Sith Lords in that raid. So that's going to be that. And, let's talk about basically, she has a few Zetas. She has one on her leadership. She has one on her special. And you definitely don't need to Zeta her leadership if you're sort of concerned about your lack of Zetas, because Embo lead, by the time you guys are listening to this, I should have another video on my channel showcasing Aurra Singh under Embo lead, and she still does a lot of damage under a different bounty hunter leadership. So that's nice. And I think that's probably about it for Aurra Singh. I don't think she's going to be... Bounty hunters are definitely not arena viable right now.
Yeah,
And
I would agree.
Dark side...
Actually, I have a question for you, Nukin.
Yeah, go for it.
So let's just assume that a person has all of their bounty hunters start up and equally geared, whatever level that may be. I know that's not true for all of us, especially since many of these are new characters. But if you had one Zeta to spend on a bounty hunter team, who gets it?
I think it depends on what you want to try to do with your bounty hunters. For example, if you're a beginner, you should probably focus on a bounty hunter team that can complete the credit heist and can do what your guild requires you to do in dark side territory battles and stuff like that. If you're an intermediate to sort of more of a long time player, you should probably try and focus on a bounty hunter team that you can raid with. So depending on what tier of the Sith raid your guild is trying to complete, have a team that's ready to do that. And then if you're sort of like a late game advanced player, most of the time, if most of the guilds out there try to do, put out their best effort in territory wars, so you're going to want a team of bounty hunters that can perform well in that game mode. And then, of course, we're actually going to talk about the newest bounty hunter. Boss has he's not the newest bounty hunter, but he is the newest bounty hunter with a ship. And so, maybe late game, we might have sort of a boss houndstooth ship meta. So depending on where you are, it's going to change sort of the path that you take. In my opinion, bounty hunters went from garbage to actually they're actually really good. Yeah. And with the rework, with the contracts, they're actually super fun to play. So I'm going to answer this based off my stance right here.
Okay.
I think that Boss is probably the way to go, because on any bounty hunter team, no matter who the leader is, Boss makes the team. Also, now that he has a ship, just like how we double Zeted our fleet commanders,
right?
Double Zeta Boss. He's got a really cool ship, and he's on every single bounty hunter team. So if I were trying to go for value, I would double Zeta Boss, and since he's going to be double Zeted, might as well run him as a leader. And he just happens to also be, he may not be the best in the Sith raid, but since he's actually good in every other game mode, it's okay to not have the strongest bounty hunter leader in the Sith raid when he can do basically everything else. So I would go for Boss.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
His ship seems to be like it's going to be almost Biggs 2.0. It would seem like every time you hit him, he regains protection. That's a strange mechanic. Buff immunity seems to really cripple him, but otherwise it seems like a very strong ship. I'm excited to use it.
It seems quite strong. I haven't messed around with it yet. Plan on making a video or two on him, but there are a few other ships out there that can do buff immunity. So Gauntlet Starfighter is one of those.
TIE Fighter.
The TIE Fighter does buff immunity as well. And I believe, does Wedge do that? Yeah, Wedge does it.
He does. I haven't used his ship in so long.
Use Wedge,
I don't think I've ever used his ship.
Well, you might have to start. Who knows?
I might have to now.
Okay. Oh, it's a reinforcement ability. Exploiting vulnerability. Enter battle and inflict buff immunity and healing immunity. I didn't know it did healing immunity too for 3 turns, which can't be resisted. Oh, that's good.
And that's a Wedge?
That's Wedge.
Ooh, okay.
Also, all the protection recovery or gain or whatever, the Sith fighter, one of the newest ships, can do damage directly to the health pool. So maybe Sith fighter can do something there as well.
Now, would that be on the starter or would that be under reinforcement?
The Sith fighter, or
Yes.
I think Sith fighter can do that without being.
Yeah, it's on its basic. Yeah, its basic is healing immunity, so that would work too.
I'll just say this: the ship sounds good, on paper, and I know there's a few videos out there, but most of the people that make ship content don't have a firm grasp of the ship meta. So I definitely want to try it out before I say anything. But I'll say this: the young Lando's Millennium Falcon, everyone was like, this ship is going to be so strong. And it never really took off. So it'll be interesting to see, if this ship lives up to the hype when everyone gets their hands on it. So
I saw several guildmates fork over some money just to star up Lando's ship and the characters.
Yeah,
I mean, we're talking that's like $600 minimum to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And even though like the value of that ship is when it comes out late as a reinforcement.
Mm-hmm.
And so even the people that are using it on my shard, I've never seen it come out once. Because the battle is usually over after one reinforcement most of the time.
I've never seen it either.
Yeah, some people wailed on that ship, took it all the way to 7 stars. Some even gave it reinforcement mat abilities, and then they benched the ship. They never even used it in the arena. So
yeah, well, here's to hoping Bosk doesn't suffer the same fate.
Hopefully this ship does not suffer that fate exactly. Did we talk about Cad Bane yet?
No,
we haven't.
I think this, I don't want to put words in everyone else's mouths, but, Cad Bane, when you actually, you know what? I'm going to rant here.
Rant away, man.
You go from Yoda, the last rework, to Cad Bane, who is a complete baller in the Clone Wars. And I don't know, it's like lackluster. He doesn't hit hard. He doesn't really do anything special. Now he can dispel or something. He got no Zetas. And, also, where's Zam? I want Zam's contract. So they reworked all the bounty hunters. They gave him cool contract abilities. And then they said, okay, I think we're going to do Zam and Cad Bane, shortly. And then they're going to do that. And now we have Cad Bane, and this is the Dengar bounty hunter month. So what are we going to do? We're going to have a new character of the month, probably, that's not a bounty hunter in next month, potentially, which is September. And are they going to rework Zam next month? I don't know. That would be weird if they did, because it's no longer going to be Dengar's month. And Zam is probably one of the most fun characters to play with the thermal detonators. Before contracts, that was what was the only sort of fun element that bounty hunters had. And then they added all this extra thermal detonator synergy. Even Cad Bane's rework has some thermal detonator component.
Yeah, it's like when he dodges, so you get a thermal.
Why not?
But how often is he actually going to dodge?
Also,
knowing the way that they set it up, it's going to dodge like 2% of the time.
Right.
You know what? Also, in context to the recent introduction of Bastila and how Jedi, as we were saying before, are able to climb an arena, you would think that Cad Bane, as his thing is like he's a Jedi hunter. Uh-huh. And what they added to him is a series of debuffs, and like his leadership gives potency to other bounty hunters. That's worthless against a 200% tenacity team.
They actually took away his anti-Jedi components. Did you notice that?
Yeah, he used a double shot or something against Jedi, right?
Yeah, he double shot. They took that away?
They took it away. He's no longer the Jedi hunter or killer or whatever. That's Cad Bane.
I'm sorry, but
and then his stun now removes 25% max protection stacking if the target is debuffed. Well, you can't debuff that Jedi team anyway until you whittle away at their protection. So what does it matter if you're taking away protection if you already got through that? They're dead anyway.
Right. It seems
So,
pretty
yeah.
lackluster. I mean, okay, but here's the bright side. We haven't really talked about looks yet. Avi, what do you think of his new artwork?
I like his new artwork.
Yeah,
I think he's
so.
I think it makes him extra studly.
Is he almost range trooper good?
He's almost range trooper good looking in that sense. Yes, absolutely. I do like a lot of the details that they added to the character compared to what they had. I do like it.
I like his hat. I'd wear one of those maybe one day.
Speaking of hats. Speaking of hats, let's talk about our rice patty cosplayer dude, Embo.
That's the Raiden wannabe from Mortal Kombat.
Rice patty.
Yeah.
His animations are pretty awesome.
Like he's from Mortal Kombat.
He does. He looks like Mortal Kombat, yeah. I'm hip. I'm hip and cool. I know that.
So this dude has been in the game for a while on, what is it, Lightside, the last B or something, the base node. So he's been in the game for a while, but I noticed the upgrade. I think he looks really cool. Also, his kit is really quite interesting, and he does insane amounts of damage. I haven't really had the opportunity to experience fighting against him or using him that much, except in Territory Wars. And we're going to break this down in a sec. I'm going to let Syracuse and Nukin talk about Territory Wars in just a little bit after we talk about Embo here. But man, I have to say, like in TW, bounty hunters are quickly becoming like the meta team, along with Scoundrels as well under Kira lead. These teams are very, very difficult, not only because they get bonuses just from the game mode, like First Order does, for example, but I think most people are just so inexperienced at fighting them that they have an even greater advantage, especially if your matchmaking isn't correct. Right. So anyway, we're talking about Embo right now. So Embo specifically, I really wanted to give him a leader ability. I wanted to I want to buy his shards. He's at 4 stars. He seems to work just fine there, which prohibits from using him in a raid situation. But in Territory Wars, man, he is so fun to use. And he has abilities that remove and recover protection. He hits like a beast with his rice patty hat. He's like the dude from
I think it's more of a frisbee.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat. No, it's more like a James Bond.
Do you know the character? What's the name of the Mortal Kombat character? Do you know?
Zero.
Oh, really?
Is that Sub-Zero? Wait, I thought he was.
I'm trying to remember. There's two of them. There's 2 of them that are very similar.
Yes.
I don't think
the blue one is yellow, right?
I think one of them wasn't he like Zero or Sub-Zero or something like that?
Yeah, he had blue and black, what the other one was. Like Guion or something.
Yeah.
He looks more. That's like more of a ninja, not a frisbee hat. Anyway,
I think he reminds me more of the bad guys from Big Trouble in Little China with Kurt
I was
Russell.
just going to say that. Big Trouble in Little China. Yes.
Yeah.
So did anyone here, gear up Embo to like gear 10 plus?
I got him to 10, yeah.
Yes.
I
have him at gear 11. I have him at 5-star gear 11.
Ooh, nice.
Ooh,
that's
interesting.
A little bit.
I was very close to the Zeta too.
I've used him in Territory Wars, and he was taking out toons left and right with one shot.
Wait, SJ, you said you almost Zeted his unique, not his leader, right?
I did. I almost did the unique. I'm still toying with whether or not it'll be my next one because it just makes him so hard to kill at that point. And
can't be critically hit.
That's all it adds, though, right?
That reminds me of Jin's can't be stunned, which
I have that Zeta. It's not good.
Yeah. Wow, that's really interesting that you purposely almost did that one.
It's all about survivability, and the rest of that team.
It's tempting,
lasts.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can I be your hero and tell you not to do that? Will you listen to my advice?
I've been watching some other people, and I'm glad that I haven't yet, but it's still a little bit early yet, and that kind of segues into the Territory Wars, but that's what sucks about never knowing what other people use against your team.
Let's
I really wish that there was a way to do that. You know what? We can just go into the Territory Wars thing if you guys want to take
real quick. So this just in. The Mortal Kombat character is called Raiden or something like that.
No, Ray. Okay,
Raiden.
yeah, and that's what I had said at the very beginning, that he looks like Raiden,
with the hat,
who is played by Christopher Lambert in the Mortal Kombat movie.
So we have Embo with a cool hat, I guess if you want to call it cool, and Cad Bane with a cool hat. So,
yeah,
Hat Wars.
Studley, totally Studley.
I actually have a hat that looks exactly
Game
like
of hats. I'm gonna make.
I actually do. I do have a hat like that. Yes.
Yeah, it's made out of foam. It's got like this little tie-dye pattern on it. It's really good for paddle boarding, and if you fall in the water, it'll float. But it like
mine's
keeps
made
your
out of
face
straw.
from getting sunburned.
Mine was hand weaved.
Yeah, mine's modern, like Embo's. Not old school. Okay, so anyway, what was our next question here? Best Embo team lineup. So Embo seems like he's much better suited to be, especially in territory wars on defense, under a boss lead as a supporter rather than the leader of a bounty hunter team. However, you can.
I seem that's fine. I seem to find that that's the best.
Let's talk about SJ's Embo. So what did you do with your Embo and TW?
I haven't even said them yet.
Oh,
okay.
Well, that was anticlimactic.
Yes.
I did see some Embos in TW recently, and they put him with Bosk leadership, and it was on defense. So I didn't really notice the team being, dramatically more difficult. I will say that Embo is definitely better than IG-88. I'll say that. Definitely better than Zam Wessel, in my opinion, although I know some guildmates of mine may disagree with my point there. And I think that's probably around where his power level is. I think Embo... Okay, so here's a question. Aurra Singh or Embo? Which one is better for TW?
Ooh, I don't know. She's not.
I don't know yet.
So if you're doing a Bosk lead, I think you're going to want Bosk. So let's brainstorm out loud for a second. Bosk lead, that's one. And then we're going to put Dengar and Greedo. There's 3 total. Now we have room for 2 more.
Boba is definitely in there.
Boba Fett definitely makes the cut. He's really good. So now we're down
Embo.
We're down to 1 spot left. So is it Embo or Aurra? I think Embo.
Yeah,
I would think Embo, at least at this point, until
or is it,
I
or
can
Cad
test
Bane?
out Aurra.
Cad Bane?
Well, this question relates to like how long have you been playing and what do you have to use and who's geared up, number one.
Assuming that you have a Gear 11 Embo and a Gear 11 Cad Bane.
I do Embo.
Which I think Embo's better. He's
Hands
got
down.
Dispel on basic. So
yeah, that's some Enfys Nest level kind of coolness.
Yeah. So I think Embo, yeah.
And he hits way harder.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about him in the Sith Raid real fast and then move on to the
take it away, man.
Yes.
So I did 2 Embo videos so far. Should be another one soon. Embo is a beast in the Sith Raid. He has, first of all, he has flexibility. Any phase, Embo's your leader. I mean, he may not be the superior leader, but you can run him in any phase. Second of all, he is actually very, very good against Darth Nihilus in phase 1 of the Sith Raid, which is awesome because,
reason being,
for example, let's say you have a resistance team and you want to run a second phase 1 team. For the people that didn't go for the Jedi Yodelicious team that I did, was that a month or 2 ago? I don't even remember. This could be, an option because there's a lack of Zetas, right? You can't do everything. So for the group of people that didn't go for Jedi, assuming that you didn't do that, then Embo and the Bounty Hunters could be your second phase 1 team in the Sith Raid. Also, here's the other cool thing. The damage that Embo and the Bounty Hunters can do against Darth Nihilus is actually, if you time it, it's actually the fastest team in the entire Sith raid that you'll ever play. Did you know that?
Fastest mean the amount of time you play or the speed they have?
Time spent playing the battle. For example, just like in the Rancor, we got, remember when I did 1 billion Zeta videos in the Rancor? Just like how there's multiple.
Yes, I remember.
There were a lot. Every week or two, there was like, oh, you can use Magma Trooper, you can use Sidious. Okay, but just like that, and now what do most people use in the Rancor nowadays? It's Rebels after Commander Luke now, because the Rebels can do it the quickest, and that's what most people use, right? So, you know, I think that eventually when he becomes free to play and the Sith raid becomes like old news, or who knows, maybe people are already kind of losing their interest. When you want to go in there, crank out a battle real fast and get out, Embo and the Bounty Hunters will do about the same amount of damage as Resistance in half the time. So that's a cool little caveat that a lot of people do not know.
I did not know that. That's very cool.
Mm-hmm. So that's Embo.
I'm excited.
For you. All right.
Does the same thing apply to if you're trying to speed through a Hat Raid Zerg in Phase 2? If you don't have the one team that can do it? Would you throw them in to buy
tank Zerg? Oh, you know what? You know, the tank raid is
who cares about that
anymore, now, so you're not really going to be using bounty hunters there.
Yeah,
but,
disregard me.
But if you were going to use bounty hunters, or a Sing is going to shine because you can topple the tank, right? So there goes. You can't use standalone though. There's no standalone, but she still does, 300k attacks on a toppled target without standalone. So there's that. But anyways, let's go into the meat and potatoes.
Territory. Oh yeah, it's time for the meat. So Territory Wars, Syracuse, and you take it away.
AKA SJ. SJ, we brought you here, and first of all, let's talk about matchmaking. So, what are your thoughts? Explain. Try to give everyone sort of like a brief sort of summary of what the current status of matchmaking is now, and your thoughts about it, and maybe does it need, actually let's just start with that. Take it away, SJ.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that people are complaining about lately with matchmaking is when a guild happens to be down a person. And, so you go into a matchup where you're at 49 out of 50 or 48 out of 50. And for 100 different reasons, you may be down a guy. The setup with it really seems to push a guild way down and weight them way down to a lower GP matchup, which I think is really starting to finish up, or really starting to upset other smaller guilds that may get matched up with these stronger guilds that for legitimate reasons are down a guy but getting matched up poorly. And I think it's just something that really needs to be looked at how these are being matched up when shorthanded, whether it just be weighted more on what your pure GP is or average GP of each member. It seems like there's a couple of quick, easy fixes, but once you start going down two people, the matchmaking gets really poor, in my opinion.
I totally agree.
Right. I've noticed that too.
I mean, I could get raked over the coals by this, but the guild I'm in currently right now, we purposefully don't take it. If there's like a few people being carried,
some guilds would be very mad at you.
Oh, I know, but also it's easy street, man. The matchmaking, it's we're hacking the Gibson, whatever.
Right.
Wait, Alliance Alpha?
They just do it based on a pure GP thing. If you're a $100 million or 100 million GP guild and you're down 2, you shouldn't be matched with a $70 million GP guild. You still get matched with your own peer group, your own thing, and that's on you. That's incentivizing people to get back to full and working towards improving and all those things. But a little of that goes to the rewards. A lot of guilds out there want the easier. Territory Wars is very taxing. It is. It's a huge time commitment. It's an emotional roller coaster. And,
it affects morale of the guild so much, whether you win or lose too.
But, for our guild, this is what we do, and this is what we love, and this is, we've worked very hard to get, 50 guys and gals in our guild that's what they like to do. They like the thrill of it, And the thing that I can equate TW to for us and for me is it's almost like the thrill of beating a raid for the first time every time in a TW. That's the only thing I can equate it to in this game. And
can I say something real fast?
Absolutely.
I know this is probably the most common thing that you'll ever hear about TW. The difference between first and second is minimal. And yes, you are correct, person that said that. But the real reward is what you just said. The thrill of victory.
Totally agree.
That is your real reward. Like, we're coming together as a guild, everyone all on the same page, giving it their all, and winning one of those epic matches. Which, let's skip ahead. Let's talk about that epic battle, SJ. We had I heard about this. There's for everyone listening out there. I'm gonna hype it up. Here we go. So there's a TW server out there, has like 7,000 plus people and growing, and you can kind of talk with the opposing guild on the other server, and people are posting memes and GIFs, and some people are blabbing about their EP or whatever, or Eva JJ, and then and then you can see which guild is facing who. Now, I saw that SJ is on the OG Wolfpack. By the way, not to be confused, there's another Wolfpack guild out there that's in the same community as Alliance Alpha, where Avi and Knotty are at. It's an independent guild, right, SJ?
Correct. We are
right. So this is the OG Wolfpack. And actually, this might actually get confusing because the guild that you faced has actually a few weeks ago has recently merged. But to give it a little background, Alliance Aurra and Alliance Phoenix merged to make Alliance Legacy and Guardians. But at the time, it was called Alliance Aurra. And the Wolfpack, you were what, 10 to 20 million GP behind?
I think we were about 15 million GP behind them.
15 million GP behind. And you guys won, which is impressive. And then by one banner, which is like the closest. Well, there is nothing, better than that. So let's hear about that epic match, SJ. After hearing about that, I wanted to bring you on, and I wanted everyone to hear about this. Now, I have personally, when I was in the Republic in Coruscant, we lost by 3 banners. Yep. But I've never seen a guild win or lose by 1 banner. All right, SJ, let's hear this story.
We matched up with Aurra. It was a 15 million GP difference. Our group just looked at it as an opportunity to play well and see what we could really do against a top guild. I think at the time they were the 6th highest guild. And, we came up with a plan that we felt really good about. I think TW is a big thing about balancing kind of, what's hard to beat on defense, but also giving you the tools to win on offense. And, we matched up, and I think they got out a little bit ahead of us. They cleared our board first. We got stuck on some Treya for a little while. And, I think it was, the next morning we were on the second Treya wall, just grinding it away, trying to be as, patient as we can, because every point matters, as literally was the example here.
Yeah, it all came down to efficiency, right?
Yeah. I mean, it really did. And I don't know that anyone in our guild got any work done that morning, but that's a story for a different day. But it was basically, I think it was probably, we got to about 2 or 3 Treya left. We were approaching about an hour left a little bit over an hour left in TW. We had what we felt was a good offensive team left. We cleared the Treya wall. And, at the end of the day, it was, 25, Bastilla Jedi teams. And we ended up 21 out of 25 one-shotting them. And, the last team, we basically got to the point where we knew we needed to get 10 points. And so we had to just make sure we killed it with all 5 of our players left. And,
So it came down to 1 toon being alive in the end.
We needed to make sure that when we beat their team, we had all 5 of our toons left. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it was, a tough team. We tried about 5, 6, 7 times and then slowly started chipping away at it and ultimately got there and beat it, and one by one with probably less than 20 minutes left before the timer was up.
So,
and I bet the whole guild was thrilled.
Oh yeah,
it was insane. I mean, I think we almost had one guild member quit because there were so many notifications that day on Discord.
Forget this. He didn't quit though because you guys won.
He didn't. And I mean, it was unbelievable. And it just came down to the one team. We didn't need to one shot it or two shot it. We just needed to beat it, and we needed to beat it with all our toons. And everyone took a shot at it. Everyone stepped up and helped, and it was really an unbelievable experience. It was fun. It was like beating, either the tank raid or the Sith raid
for the first time. So SJ, when you were in the match, did you guys ever think that you were gonna lose, when, or to the very end? What was going on in your guys's TW led, I don't know, officers or what? I'm not sure exactly how you run TW, but what was going on in the officer's mind?
No, I mean, basically at the end of the day, people hate us for saying it so many times, but we always say, just be patient. Make sure you go with the right teams. And, beautiful thing about TW is you can basically do the math and figure out, do we still have a chance? And we knew we had a pretty good chance, and we knew that we had the right teams left, and just really stuck to our guns. And when we opened up the last wall and knew we had the ace in the hole, our guys delivered. I mean, it was unbelievable what they did.
When you cleared that last team, how much time was left on the clock till it was over? I
mean, there's been a little bit of time, but it was probably less than 20 minutes, I think.
So pretty last minute, last hour, cooler. Clean up.
Oh yeah. This was not early in the day. It was under the gun.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to time it too, because 5 minutes a match, you only have so much. You got to make sure so we were lining up who had what left and who was going to go in and
what time. So you're in New York. What time does TW phase start for you? Is that noonish or something?
It seems to have started later. It was, now it's 3 o'clock. I think this one was more like 1 o'clock. And so literally, I did not do just about anything from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. that day.
Wow. Yeah.
Phone died
TW cycle in Hawaii, it starts for me at 8 a.m. So sometimes I wake up too late, and then the table's already cleared. I missed out on the bloodbath.
I think that's a really tough part for international guilds that
agreed
kind of
for sure
on the same page. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Did your guild do anything differently since your guild was, so below the GP bracket? You guys were 15 million less GP. Did you guys do anything differently, setting your defense or with your offense plan in that position?
No, not. I mean, in that one, no, because we felt we had all the right teams. We felt we had them all. Subsequent to that match, we've been matched up with your group, Nukin, and the TI and Wall of Warriors.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. We should talk about that.
So, playing 20, 25 million GP below the last couple times, we're tinkering with what the right way to do that is, because what has really hurt us over the last couple of weeks is all these new toons. So it's a little bit of a rat race, and
I'm going to briefly talk about our match actually, and then we'll go into some theory crafting. How about that?
Yeah. Well, we did do something very different matching up against you guys because, part of TW is, knowing the community and talking with people, and we
actually talk about what you did differently against us, and then I'll share our side, and that'll be interesting for the audience. For everyone listening, OG Wolfpack and Mighty Chlorians 1 faced off against each other in TW last cycle, right?
Yeah, and you guys were insanely efficient, and we had kind of heard something about your strategy, so we kind of tried to do a little bit of a rope-a-dope. And I don't want to go into your strategy too much, but we felt like we were going to, I think the biggest thing with TW is how you set your board, almost as much as who you set. And, we were trying to, play it straight up and pull the rug out from you a little bit, but you guys were diligent and smart in how you approached it and extremely efficient. So
actually, Syracuse, can I ask you this? Because I think that, well, let me give some context to this question. So I've noticed that there are some communities and guilds where they protect their territory war strategy like it's some national defense secret or something, but really, how much does it vary? We all know what the meta defense teams are, right? And we're building teams for it. If I can ask you specifically, just based on your roster, what do you put on defense and what do you put on offense?
We'll do that in just a second.
Yeah.
Well, okay, whatever.
So you had some intel against us and you did some things differently and you called it a rope-a-dope? What's that?
Well, I think, I think we thought you'd get to our back wall with your ace in the hole, and we figured, put it this way, we didn't put a meta defense back there thinking you're going to have a meta offense and you were going to smoke whatever was there. So we figured have fun, smoking, a B-level team with your A-plus team. I don't think that's actually how it went down, but that was somewhat what our thinking was. But I think now our group is, we're going to step to the plate, throw a punch, and take a punch and see where we stand at the end of it.
Right. So here, and then basically what we did was, after hearing about your epic one-banner win against Aurra, I was like, guys, this guild is no joke. We can't underestimate our opponent because we also had a GP advantage. I think it was around 10 million or something. I forgot
20,
what it was.
20 million.
Oh, it was 20 million? Okay, yeah. That's okay. But so everyone, I was like, we have to be patient. We can never underestimate our opponent. And then on TW Day, actually in the very beginning, I think you guys were actually more efficient than what we were doing at the beginning. And then I was like, all right, guys, we're actually going to lose if you guys keep on like going in there. This is not a Zerg tank raid, we have to slow down a bit. And then the guild slowed down and we started being a little bit more efficient. And I think both of us, we both full cleared each other, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, but
it did come actually down to the efficiency war. I don't remember what the score was, but I think
don't even remember what we had, but you guys had like 20, just shy of like 20,900, which is a pretty insane score.
Yeah, but you guys, you guys had 20.5K, I think at least, or something. So both sides were super efficient. So that actually is a pretty good experience I had facing off you guys. And it's cool to see when you full clear another guild, you can kind of see what their sort of defense makeup was. And I thought it was really interesting, how some of your, walls were set up. I think like when you get down to, I think when you're facing off against a guild, this is my personal opinion, SJ, tell me if I'm wrong here. When you're facing off against a guild that has higher GP, in my opinion, you should go a little bit lighter on defense and then use those teams to try to be a little bit more efficient on offense, because a guild that has more GP than you should have the resources to full clear you. It's just going to come down to how efficiently do they use those extra resources, right? Am I wrong here?
I mean, if you go later on defense against a better guild, they're going to just be that much more efficient too, and just puts the pressure on you that much.
It is a risk. Yeah.
I think really what it comes down to is finding the right balance where you can still be really efficient on offense. The downfall of a $20 million or 20 million GP gap is that's a lot of Zetas. That's a lot of Gear 12. That's a lot of, and that doesn't even start talking about the difference in mods too. Mm-hmm. So it's
for sure.
It's a different thing. And, we faced Delta. We just faced Wallet Warriors. So, it's a good learning process for us.
Delta is Team Instinct, by the way, guys.
Team Instinct Delta. So we've been running the gamut a little bit, but I think it's been a good place to really kind of, after having a lot of success, to kind of get some real self-assessment on what teams we do well with, because we've done well with some defensive teams against those guys too. So it's just a process, I think, of seeing where you're at and where you need to go and what it takes to get there.
So that was a good. Sorry.
No, it's okay. At your level, your GP level, what you commonly get matched up with, what are the most common defensive teams to see? I mean, obviously there's going to be trail leads, obviously. Yeah.
Let me go back to your first question that you asked that we kind of want, what our motto is now is you got to be flexible in terms of defense. I think, it's just, you got to sometimes make some guesses and what you think they're going to set, what you think you need to save. I mean, it's funny when you see these meta shifts. When TW first started, who would have thought, Commander Luke wasn't on defense, and then you've seen these teams come and go a little bit, and teams are now holding First Order when I think First Order was really the team that helped us for a long time, and
they're still helping you. They're just like in a different way,
right? And I think that's what takes a little bit of people some time to get used to, but I think the shifts always are there. I think, obviously a lot of people play Treya, a lot of people do First Order, it's a lot of all these teams, and, bounty hunters are a big part of it. And I think any faction that gets a bonus in TW, which I think it's 4 factions that get bonuses, are factions that you should really have good teams for, because you're leaving something on the table. They all have something for it.
So let's talk about what makes TW interesting at the 180 million GP bracket. I know everyone out there may not be in a guild that's in this bracket, but at SJ, let's talk a little bit about that. So you talked about First Order. Let's start off with that. So First Order is a very good team in TW, right? They're a strong team, because the AI can play decently well on defense, and they have that bonus in TW, right? Now, in TW, what makes it sort of complex is that the higher GP brackets, the other guilds start mixing it up a bit. So instead of using a full First Order faction team, they'll throw in like a wild card character. Like they'll put in Nest or Barris or something like that to try to make the typical counter to that team actually, more difficult for them to do. So like, for example, let's talk about first order counter resistance, Zeta Finn. A Zeta Finn resistance team can take out a First Order team. But then if you throw in, for example, like a Nest in there, you're going to have a hard time. Ness is going to 1v5 your whole team, right? So let's talk a little bit about that. What do you guys do and what do you guys do when you encounter sort of a team on defense that messes up your typical counter?
Well, I think the idea is that's kind of where the whole flexible thing is. You got to adapt on the fly. You got to have guys that are smarter than you, and a lot of them that brainstorm and theory craft on the fly. I mean, you can go in there with a game plan, but good guilds are going to make good decisions that you have to adjust to. And I think that's where having some flexible teams and having some of those really good flexible offensive teams, a Commander Luke on offense now is so versatile. So you want to make sure you have them for that kind of ace in the hole against a variety of different teams.
What is the most common monkey wrench thrown into a team mix that you've seen in the past couple of weeks, the last couple of TW cycles?
I think Nest is the biggest variable right now. She's extremely, she's extremely hard to kill. A lot of teams rely on turn meter gain or whatever, and she helps that with the days. And she's a real plug and play character in any faction.
She is, yeah. She's a pretty meta character.
I would say she's the best character this game has seen the whole year, to be honest.
Definitely.
Scion's pretty good. When did Scion come out?
Actually, Scion, no, you're right. Scion is one of
those characters that can kill Nest, too.
Well, also Treya came out this year. What am I talking about?
Yeah.
Well, as just like a monkey character, I mean.
You heard it here first. Crimbopulous Naughty Advice 101.
One of the things we were talking about earlier was, all these new toons and how do new toons play into TW. And, I think the biggest thing, and this is where it's hard playing the GP gap, is, TW is a little bit about chasing the next meta and replacing the old meta with your defenses. And, obviously facing Wallet Warriors this last time, they're a little bit ahead of where we are with it. And
they had all the newest tunes.
Yeah. And
that's one thing too. You were talking about the matchmaking earlier, is that it's possible for a guild with a bunch of rosters that have all of their build outs for their offense and defense, they're modded, they're geared, and you just drop a couple people off of that and you get matched with people that are like 2.5 million GP. They have no chance. They have no chance. They just don't have the capability to defeat these things.
Can I say something inspirational for the lower GP bracket guilds?
Please.
For the guys out there that are in the 50 million, yes, there's guilds out there with 50 million GP, to 160 million GP, that range of guilds, probably the most people are in that range. And you're faced up in TW against a guild that has 10 million more GP than you. Do not think that you've automatically are going to lose the match, because what comes down to TW is a few things. One, that guild may have quote unquote fluffy GP, galactic power. What that means is they have characters that aren't necessarily amazing in territory wars. They, what is it? What is a geared 12 low bot? Yeah, let's use that. Or a mob enforcer going to do in TW for you? Absolutely nothing. So you can actually kind of like negate that or subtract that GP altogether. And when you do that sort of thinking, it becomes more of a reasonable match. And then the other thing is, it comes down to sort of participation of the guild and also efficiency. So for example, if your guild is smart and you're not preloading the turn meter on the team, you guys are being patient and using the appropriate counters for the teams on defense, and everyone is logging in every 2 to 6 hours or whatever, then you can actually beat another guild out there that has higher GP than you. I see it all the time. So that's my sort of like inspirational thing. Like, never give up, never surrender,
never preload,
never
do not preload.
And thank you, Syracuse. That's the most important point. Go into airplane mode. If you can't kill at least one toon, quit the match. If you are up against a guild that doesn't know how to not preload turn meter in territory wars, you're done. There's
Make it
no
a habit.
chance.
As soon as you go into the battle, airplane mode, just so you don't forget.
Yeah, you never know when you're going to get the train running.
You really need to kill 2 or 3 toons, I think, to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, actually 2. If I can only kill 1, I will often just quit it anyway.
Mm-hmm. I think if you kill 1 or 2, I think that's fine. And
unless it's the leader. If I can just assassinate a Treya
if you can kill the most important toon, then go for it.
Like, for example, let's say you kill their tank or their leader. I would probably take that battle. Turn off airplane mode so you connect back to the internet and post that.
But if it's just some regular support toon, don't get lulled.
Hey guys, I killed Cassian. But the triumvirate's
not going to. Here, for anyone listening out there, if you don't know what preloading turn meter or airplane mode in TW is, ask your officers tomorrow, because that is very important to know. We're not going to spoon feed you here, but ask your officers. They should have an idea. And if they don't, join our Discord channel. We'll teach you. All right. Let's talk about the last point here.
For a fee.
For a fee. Yes, you must endure a meme raid. That is our payment. Okay, so let's talk about the last point here and then talk about what we're working on. So the new toons, we talked about all of them, right, Knotty?
Yep. Yeah, I think so.
Take us into the last point.
Okay, so with the new toons, what we want to know is, I guess this kind of dovetails into what we're working on, but how are these new toons relevant to Farm for Territory Wars specifically, if that's a game mode that you're really into?
Right. So we had Range Trooper, Young Lando, Vander Chewbacca, Young Han Solo, Ness, L3, and Embo, Aurra Singh, a lot of these new characters. Which of these new toons do you think are, let's start it off with SJ. Of these new toons that have recently become released via Marquee, and some of them are now farmable in shipments. I think Bastila is in shipments right now, but she's not free to play grindable. And then some of the recent new, as of today, right now, are farmable, like Range Trooper and all that. Out of all these toons, which do you think have the most sort of relevance in TW?
Well, I think since most people have pretty good troopers from doing dark side territory battles, I think Range Trooper is an extremely important toon. I think L3 is a really versatile toon that goes on a bunch of different teams. And I do think that the Scoundrels are, they get a nice TW bonus. And if you don't know what they are, check them out in game. That I think she's a
the
really
new solo Scoundrels,
toon.
You mean?
Yes, for Scoundrels, Scoundrels,
sure.
Bounty Hunters, but, both are kind of, valuable in teams that you most likely already have and really take them to a different level. So I think that they're really important, and obviously depends where you are in the game mode, but I think most guilds in the higher 160 and above are all kind of trying to chase that new meta stuff sometimes, and I do think Scoundrels are one more big tool in the toolbox that let you be more flexible in what you do on offense and defense.
I totally agree. And one of the newest meta teams that came out is Kira Lead, L3, Zalbar, Vandor Chewbacca, and I can't remember the other one, but it's an extremely difficult.
Another one.
Mission Val, the gal that looks like a bad case of legendaries.
I see most people throwing Nest as the fifth on that team. No one's using Mission Val.
So I have not seen
no one's buying all the tunes.
Don't put the old Scoundrels. We don't want to see any, Nuke Gunrays out there or Gamorrean guards. Talking about the solo Scoundrels guys.
Oh, come on! Right. Somebody wants a little pig fun. Come on!
I think I've seen Gamorrean guard on defense, and it's a thing.
That'll do, pig.
It's a thing that you just steamrolled, like it wasn't even there.
Well, yes, it was delicious, but don't do that. Even though it was enjoyable for me, their guildmates probably weren't very pleased with that, if they even knew. So solo movie Scoundrels are probably the next TW thing, is what you're talking about, SJ, right? Are you trying to push your guild to farm that, or what are you doing? We
really don't. I mean, what we try to do is we don't have any required farms or anything like that, but we do try to say this is what we see and this is where we think we're going. And, I think they're the new team, but, people can only keep up with so much with what's coming out right now, too. Right. I'm a big believer that stay focused, work on one team at a time. I'd rather have one Gear 12 max team than 3 teams at Gear 10, because at our level Nukin, the Gear 10 team is not going to help you. But it's better to just have a max team that you can win with, or you can set on defense that's ready.
Yeah, put
finishing projects is way more important than
finish one project at a time. That's great advice. And I think at our level, save the Gear 10 character for offense and put your 11 and 12 on defense, probably.
Right.
And then for everyone out there listening, the Scoundrel bonus that SJ was talking about was they recently gave it was Resistance and First Order that had a bonus. They still have that bonus, and now Bounty Hunters and Scoundrels got a bonus. And the Scoundrel bonus has 20% critical chance for your Scoundrels as long as they have protection. So that's the small bonus there. Anyone else have opinions on, relevance of some of the characters? I don't think Bastila was mentioned. I think she's really good.
Oh, she's amazing.
100%.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
I think go ahead, Abby.
It's really nice that some of the tunes are just add a nice diversity to TW in different aspects of the game, especially for TW, because it was starting to get a little stale in TW with the same old teams, and you're kind of limited in what you can use.
Right.
Now with a lot of the new stuff, you can kind of divide and conquer, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And creating several different teams that you can use to be able to use some of your better teams for offense.
Right. And the cool thing about the Bastila teams is, and Territory Wars, unlike raids, you don't need 7 stars, so you can use your 3-star Bastila and TW2 as well.
Yeah, and those Scoundrels, if you didn't buy them, you just get them from the marquee
Even the
event. If
Scoundrels.
they're geared, the Scoundrels work just fine.
Even the Scoundrels.
In the last TW, I put my Scoundrels on defense. They were at 4 stars, and they survived 11 times. 11.
And Nest is so good. I've been using Nest in TW, and she's only 3 or 4 stars. So definitely, as long as you gear them up and give them some good mods, you can use them.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
want to dovetail into what we're working on? Close it out.
And one other thing, actually, when we were talking about like tricky, complex things, something that you can actually do is actually, maybe mix up your zones. A lot of guilds I see out there, it's like, this is our first order zone, and it's just 25 first order teams. You can actually, you don't need to do that. I mean, it might be easier for the officers to do that, but you can actually put 20 first order teams and then throw in 5 of a different team just to kind of mix it up as well. That's another sort of complex strategy that sometimes people do.
Right. I do that for 2 of my guilds, since I'm the TW lead on 2 of my guilds.
Mm-hmm.
One of the fascinating things that I'm rather anxious about is one of these days I'm going to have to do Abby versus Abby.
Right.
That'll be
because you have 2 guilds that are near in GP.
That are near GP, yeah. They're both.
Oh, man, I would love that. You can throw the match if you want to.
And actually,
whichever guild I'm in, let's make that one win.
Mighty Chlorians 2 is actually near that bracket as well.
Yeah. Let's see, Bravehearts is about 173, about 173.
I'll feel conflicted if you ask me for
Alliance is about 181, 182 right now at the moment.
Nukin, what do we do against this team in TW? You're facing my community. Can't say anything.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
So let's close it out. This is actually a pretty long podcast right now.
Yeah, it's getting long.
So let's do Avi. What are you working on right now? What are your current projects?
One of my accounts, I'm working on Bastila and her Jedi cohorts. On that, I still have a lot of work on the Jedi that I need to do, but Bastila is working out really well. On the other account, I am really working hard on my bounty hunters and scoundrels. I just need to get them started up, but they're all geared up and ready to go, and I've got their gear 12 ready when they're able to get to be 7 stars. And I'm totally excited about it. And I'm working specifically on Embo and Kira lead teams. Very
cool. What are you doing, Nukin?
I am working on Geospy, taking him up to, he's gear 12, but putting the old gear 12 pieces on the left side pieces. So I'm working on that.
For ships?
The Geonosian ship to wrap up my sort of fleet. And then actually I'm missing a few ship omegas on the Geo fleet. I need to do a few more abilities. They're not fully maxed ship omega wise. So I'm working on that. And I recently Zeted Boss Lead because, I think that is a value Zeted there. And I'm almost, I don't know, a lot of people out there may already have her, but Visas. I Zeted Visas preemptively because I am 20 shards away from her final star. So even though I've been doing videos with Visas for months now, on my main account, I'm finally going to be able to actually use her in a Sith raid. So she's like gear 8 or 9. I'm about to take her up because now I Zeted her, so I'm committed. And then lastly, bounty hunters. So on top of Zeting Boss, with all this bounty hunter hype, I am going to be working on the bounty hunters so I can actually have another really strong PW team. So that's what I'm working on. How about you, SJ?
Well, I just recently Zeted Vandor Chewie, and then kind of working on the Scoundrels and beefing them up a little bit more. and very happy to see.
What does Vandor Chewy Zeta do? What does that offer?
What's that?
What does Vandor Chewy Zeta do?
Oh, you're going to test me on the spot right now, but basically, I mean, it just really goes to the survivability.
Pressure's on.
Yeah, and basically,
it's the revive, by the way.
It's the revive
that's the
that
revive. Gotcha.
with L3 really makes him, the two of them with the taunts and what comes. It really adds to the survivability of the whole team.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm very happy to see L3 go into Cantina. And then for the most part, I'm working on just gearing up all these new toons that I don't have starred yet, so that when their stars become available to farm, I can kind of chase those, but have the gear part done.
Yep. Very good plan. So I'm working on Bosk. Actually, I just gear 11'd him last night. I was really surprised how easy he was to get there.
Easiest 10 to 11 in the game.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it was a stun gun, a few hollow projectors, and a bunch of crap I had laying around. So I was like, wow, this is great. I have 2 Zetas to spend. I'm considering giving him 1. But my bounty hunters are they just barely make the mark to do dark side territory battles. So some of them are still like gear 8 and stuff like that. So
I find spending a Zeta a good way to commit to actually chasing.
That's what I did with Visas.
Yeah, then you have to. It's like, okay, this is where I will funnel my Carbantes from now on, Yeah, and then Kira, who I think is just great also. Really, really cool trick. If people are putting Bastila lead on defense in Territory Wars, you can take Kira and Enfys Nest alone, and Enfys will kill. I mean, Kira dies almost immediately, but her leader ability goes to Enfys, and you take out the whole team.
You need a 7-star nest, though, and it's not super
Absolutely.
reliable.
Yeah.
I tried it with my 4-star nest. Does not work.
I did it this time.
7-star nest, and I got my nest all 12.5.
Are you working on anything else?
No, that's the main thing right now. I don't really have the stockpiled resources to do much else, but I'm really looking forward on Bosk's ship, and I have all the materials so that I can. I mean, his reinforcement ability isn't that good.
Are you going to whale on him?
Maybe. I don't know. I kind of want to play with it a little bit, but I do have a lot of hope for this ship. Much more so than the Falcon, which was just kind of unattainable and, I don't know, outside of my budget and desire to use, and I'm glad that I refrained from that. So I typically will spend a vault like every 2 months or so. It's not that much, though.
Big spender.
So, yeah.
I have hope for the ship. We'll see.
Yeah, I have hope, too. So anyway, we're going to wrap it up here, guys. Thank you, Avi, Nukin, and SyracuseJedis. Thank you so much for being a guest on here.
Thanks
this has been a good old time.
Thank you.
We will catch you next time, guys. See you next month or at the next Ask Me Anything conversation, which will be even more fun.
Much love. See ya.
Good night, everyone. Good night.
The Force will be with you, always.